Yes, this is the moment when the very first podcast called All About Lapland is online. And yes, I know that we already had one episode, which I was calling my first episode last week. However, there's been some changes, so it's better to keep this first episode as episode 0. And now we're finally launching the podcast now. And the topic of today's podcast is: which season should you travel to Lapland? And also, I will tell you about all the different seasons that we have here in Lapland. And in fact, there are 8 seasons in Lapland instead of regular 4, and I will tell you why. So, the idea of this podcast, All About Lapland Podcast, is to tell you different stuff about Lapland and to answer your questions as we go along. The video version of this podcast will be broadcasted on Facebook and other platforms live with the sound and the video, and later the recording of this podcast, the audio, will be uploaded to all the podcast resources like iTunes and Spotify and whatnot. So, let's see who we have here. We have Sasha saying us moi Sasha. So, let's get straight to business and discuss what is the best time to travel to Lapland. And of course, as this is an interactive show, you can ask questions and I will try to answer those. And if you have some other topics that we can discuss, you can send them in the comments. Which things would you like to know, and what kind of answers you would like to be answered. But on this episode, we'll primarily discussing different seasons and different times to travel to Lapland. And I see we have many new listeners and viewers, and Sylvia saying ciao Sylvia. So the main question is why we have 8 seasons in Lapland and not 4. And the answer is simple. It's because Lapland is so high up north that the changes of light here, it's very dramatic. So we're going from 24 hours of daylight in the summer to basically very little light in the winter. And every 2 months, or sometimes even every 1.5 months, something changes here in the climate or in the amount of light that it kind of requires its own name and its own season. So let me explain. We'll go to our season number 1, which is the midnight sun season, and that generally comes in mid-May, and it lasts until about, now we are in about 1 or 2 weeks. In the end of July, we will enter our next season. So the midnight sun season is one of the best to travel to Lapland, especially for photographers, but not only for photography. When you are out there at night, at midnight, at 1 a.m., and you see this kind of very low setting and rising sun like this on this image, which was taken about, midnight a few weeks ago in Rovaniemi. So there is some kind of magic in this light to experience, and you can just go on top of the fells, like by hiking or with a mountain bike, and just enjoy this amazing light during midnight. So you can do all kinds of stuff during the midnight sun. So the next season that we will have in about a couple of weeks, it's called the harvest season. And we basically cut summer in half into midnight sun time, and then in this kind of late July to August season, because this is when we have night again. So and this is also when we have berries and mushrooms in the forest. And there are lots of nice, beautiful berries to collect. Like here we have blueberries. I love collecting blueberries. 2 summers ago, I've collected 9 buckets like this of blueberry. We had blueberry pie almost every day. This blueberry is much better than your regular supermarket blueberry, which is like this big and tasteless. This is like really small and it's packed with flavor. So another kind of good berry, it's cloudberry, which I totally adore. So the second part of summer, called the harvest season, it has already some degree of night, like little by little, a very short night, and nature produces its best. And this is actually most popular summer season to travel to Lapland, both for our domestic travelers in Finland and for people from abroad. And usually during this time there is all range of activities, summer activities available, such as guided tours into nature, animal watching tours. Last summer I've participated in several, and we've seen bears in Kuusamo region from a shed, and there are many kind of river activities and cruises available, but mainly it's such a fun season to travel because you can experience so much stuff on your own. So you can combine some tours and just, going around Lapland on a rented car or on a motorhome. So as the borders are gradually opening, you can basically count that the next season you will be able to travel to Lapland will be this harvest season from end July until early September. So that's the next season. Currently, we have very, very wet and cold weather. It's about 10 to 12 degrees centigrade now in Lapland. It rains every day, and that's quite unusual. Usually we have like a week of rain and a week of sun, but now we're having something different. So it's maybe good that you're still not here, but I hope that in a couple of weeks the weather will get better. So this is the harvest season that we have. Basically still summer, but dark nights. And in many ways it's very similar to Midnight Suns season, except that we start to have sunset at about 11, then 10 p.m., then 9 p.m. So this picture, for example, is taken at 10:30 p.m. in late August, actually early August in Rovaniemi, by a beautiful place called Kuninkaanlaavo. So I'm very excited about this harvest season for another reason, and this is when we can see Northern Lights again. And usually it happens around mid-August. And to be honest with you, it's not yet a very big sight. And the reason for this is that, well, we do have some degree of night, but it's still pretty bright at night. So this is kind of, this is how the night with every day it goes longer and longer and longer until we can see some very faint northern lights. So this picture is taken about 1:30 p.m. in something like 20th of August last year, and I had to wait the whole night for these small northern lights to just go very fast and then disappear. So it's not yet like this big northern lights season, but next season, which comes after that, starting from early September, it's the season of northern lights. So the next season that we have, it's called Ruska, or autumn foliage season. So this is when we have our regular autumn, and this is when the trees receive their beautiful vibrant yellow and red color, and especially northern Lapland, it's a great place to visit during this let's say second and third week is the kind of the sweet spot to see these colors. And here in Rovaniemi we can go well into the fourth week of September to have this beautiful foliage, autumn foliage. But especially northern Lapland, like Kilpisjärvi, Ylläs, Ivalo, Inari, these are just amazing places to visit at this time of the year. And the good thing, there is no mosquitoes. There are all of the activities you can do, biking, hiking, all kinds of stuff. The weather is still nice. I mean, it can get pretty warm, like plus 15 centigrade during the day, closer to plus 5, or even, pretty cold at 0 centigrade at night. But the days are very beautiful, especially with lots of sun. And these are some of the photos from last Ruska season in Ivalo. We went to Aurora Village with a couple of my friends. You can see here, Heini and what's this guy called? Oh, I have a blackout in my memory. So it's very beautiful. Mattia, it's it's this guy's name. So everything is this kind of has this earthy kind of color, like this mudded yellow, mudded red, very beautiful. And at nighttime you can have very bright northern lights, especially in September. So September, it's the best month out of all the months to see the northern lights. And last year on September 27th we had a real aurora storm, so these are the pictures from that night. And usually even on like a very basic night in September, if the sky is clear, you can see some wonderful small but still wonderful northern lights. So the autumn foliage season it's actually kind of short season. It's only about 1 month, so September and maybe first half of October. So for those of you who don't like mosquitoes, you don't like hot weather, and you want to see northern lights and to experience nature, this is like the very beautiful season. And I can warmly recommend this place, Aurora Village in Ivala, or any place up north. Take your pick. You're going to enjoy it anyway. So the next season we're going to discuss in our series, why or when should you go to Lapland, which season to pick. We have the first snow season, and the first snow, it depends when it comes. It can come as early as mid-October, as we had last winter, or it can come very late in late November, like we had 2 winters ago. So you don't really know when it's going to come, because it can be different. It can come, the snow can come and then it can melt, so it's a pretty unstable season. But last winter we were really like already from mid-October and end October. This is, I think, 27th something of October last year in Rovaniemi. We had already some snow on the ground, and then we just had more and more snow. So this is a nice season to visit, like early winter season to visit. There is not many people around, but it may be that not all of the activities are still available. So I'm talking about snowmobiling, reindeer tours. So those are probably not yet available because of the lack of snow. However, you can do some husky sled riding with the wheeled cart. So this is available for you, but maybe not this kind of big winter activities yet. And this is because there is still not enough snow, and the lakes are just getting their first cover of ice. And this is beautiful Lake Inari, last year's early November. And regarding the Northern Lights, the best Northern Lights season continues somewhere until mid-October, and then the activity kind of drops. And we get lots of cloudy weather and lots of snow, which is a good thing. Cloudy weather and snow, it's a good thing for the upcoming winter. But this also means that we cannot see the Northern Lights through these clouds. And as the activity is low, so I usually do not recommend going to Lapland for Northern Lights in November. So if you're looking specifically for Northern Lights, then you can just skip November altogether. And there might be cold nights, like this night we went hunting for Northern Lights, and we waited for the whole night for them to appear, and we've seen absolutely nothing or very little. Well, you can see in this image there is a little hint of green, but you don't really get to see that with your own eyes. I mean, you can have a really odd night with powerful Northern Lights in November, but talking about night after night after night in November, that can be difficult. So there can be one particular night which is good, but then that might be 2 or 3 weeks with nothing. That's what I mean. So we have some comments, and Barbara is saying, I will be in Kielapa September, hopefully. So Barbara, Kielapa is a wonderful place near Saariselkä, especially in September. You will be delighted with these beautiful autumn foliage colors there with the dwarf birches, and hopefully there will be some huge Northern Lights. And Libor is saying, I'm sad the Czech Republic is not in the list of the countries which can visit Finland. Well, Libor, every 2 weeks now, Finnish government reviews the list of the countries. So next time they will review it will be on the 27th of July, and next time will be on the 11th of August. So I'm really thinking that if it won't happen on 27th of July, I'm really hopeful that Czech Republic will be on the list on 11th of August. So stay optimistic with that. So the first snow season, if you come in late November, there might be enough snow for the activities to start, for some shorter snowmobile safaris, for some smaller tours, but it depends on the year. Sometimes you have those, sometimes you don't have. However, what you can do is you can go alpine skiing in Lapland and Finland starting from already mid-October. For example, we have several resorts that store last winter's snow over the summer, and when autumn and cold weather comes, they restart their season with a few slopes, and then they add more and more. And Ruka Ski Resort in Kuusamo is an amazing resort that start their season already as early as about around 5th of October, so you can go alpine skiing already that early. And other resorts such as Levi Ski Resort, they also join later in end October or early November, and some of the ski resorts are waiting for more natural snow like they do in Ylläs, so they start snow alpine skiing season a little bit later. But it's also true that winter comes in Ylläs much earlier than it comes to Rovaniemi, might be as early as 2 weeks. So next season on our list, it's what we call Kaamos, or winter darkness season, or Christmas season, and that's basically your whole December and beginning of January. So what is very typical for this season, and remember we're talking about drastical changes in the sunlight. So starting from mid-November, you get much less and less and less daylight and almost no sunlight, because the sun, it's already very low on the horizon, and basically you can only see sunlight just during noon or 1 or 2 p.m. and then the sun starts setting already. And this image that I have here taken last December in Rovaniemi, this is a kind of very typical image for that season. So lack of sunlight makes you more tired very earlier in the day and much quicker, especially if you're local. If you're just coming along for a week, you might not experience that, but our bodies, they get adjusted to this amount of light. So you, for example, need much more sleep in December. And speaking about tourism, of course, December, it's by far the most popular month to travel to Lapland, because many of you guys, you really want to experience Christmas magic, and that's absolutely what you can get here, especially in Rovaniemi, which is the city of Christmas. However, if you have a possibility to not to come in December and come some other month like January, February or March, then I can warmly suggest you do that. So if you cannot shift your vacation, of course, do come in December, but please take in consideration that the prices are higher than during the other seasons, and there are more people here in the city. Especially if you go to popular attractions such as Santa Claus Village, you have to take into consideration that there might be queues somewhere and you have to wait. However, if you come early January, so then there'll be much less people. So that's my kind of tip. If you can come at other season, please do that. So in December, usually all of the activities are opening up. You can enjoy all of the variety of local tourist companies. You can go on snowmobile tours, husky sledding on snow, reindeer rides on the snow, ice fishing and skiing, alpine skiing especially, and cross-country skiing. So all of your typical winter activities that you're looking for, they are available in December. But also the temperature goes down, and it may be quite cold in December already. And of course, then we have Christmas season with beautiful lights everywhere, and then we have New Year, and slowly in about second week of January we start to get out of this winter darkness time, and this is when probably the most affordable winter season starts. So starting from mid-January we have a little bit sunny for second week until the fourth week of January. There is usually less people, so you have more options and a little bit lower prices. And this is when we are already getting into our next season, which is snowy winter season, and it lasts from mid and early January until late February. So this is by far the coldest season of the year, when we can have really cold temperatures down to minus 30-35 degrees centigrade at night, and such cold weather can last for weeks. Of course, it might be also warmer, around 0 degrees on some weeks, but then you also have really cold nights and it snows a lot. And this is a very typical image that I have here, taken, by the way, at Myllykoski at Oulanka National Park in Kuusamo near Ruka Ski Resort, and it's one of the most picturesque place in whole Finland. And in the middle here you can see a vortex of ice. So this place, it's very special. The water circles around there and all of the ice circles there as well. And this picture is taken with a long exposure, about 30 seconds. So it accentuates this this beautiful view. So really nice season to visit apart from the cold. So you can have all of the activities available for you. You can come at any place in Lapland, Rovaniemi or Northern Lapland, Levi, Ylläs, Saariselkä, Pyhä Luosto. Those are beautiful. It's very beautiful in any place. Of course, the more north you go, the less people you will have and the more beautiful the sceneries will become. But then you will, of course, have to rely more on yourself in search of the activities. You have to have a rented car to move around and so on. So Karen has a comment. She's saying, wow, planning on bringing my kids to Lapland and I was thinking December, but great idea to hold off and come in January. Seems like we can experience more and at our own pace then. That's exactly the idea with January, February and March. You still get Christmas feeling when you come here in January, especially in Rovaniemi, and you can experience best of both worlds. So the special Christmas time plus all of the winter activities. And gradually we have longer days. At first, the sun just only rises above the horizon for a couple of hours, maybe at 11 a.m., as late as 11 a.m., and then at 2-3 p.m. it goes down. But with every week of January going into February, it goes higher and higher, and there's more and more light, and it changes very quickly, I tell you. And Stuart is saying it's almost half the cost late January into February. Exactly. So this is a nice tip for you if you have a freedom to plan your travel. Just come in January and February and you will enjoy it. Regarding the Northern Lights, usually you can see some degree of Northern Lights in December and January. However, you have to plan for about a week's vacation to maximize your chances. And this is because the activity, it fluctuates. You can have one night with a good activity and then you can have 5 nights with very low activity. And you might have snowy weather, you might have sunny weather. So usually if you stay for about a week and you go up north, and then you'll have kind of a good chance to see Northern Lights. However, if you do come for like 2 or 3 nights, then it's kind of a gamble whether you will see those or not, because it can be cloudy for 3 nights and you might not see anything. So that's how it goes a little bit. So if you're coming for Northern Lights, just plan for longer vacation and go more up north. Like for example, Kilpisjärvi region in the most northern Finnish Lapland. It's totally amazing for Northern Lights. You don't need to book tours there necessarily. You just go out of your cottage and boom, you just enjoy your Northern Lights. That's how it happened to me last winter. I was totally overwhelmed. 2 nights of big Northern Lights in Kilpisjärvi. So, of course, you do see them in Rovaniemi, but if you go up north, they're more powerful and they rise higher over the horizon, and that means that you will have bigger chances. All right, so snowy winter season goes until mid-February. So what happens next? Well, there is still snow, but there is also lots of sunlight and daylight. And we call this season spring-winter or winter-spring, call it how you like it. And it lasts from mid or end February until end March or early April. So the sun during the season starts to rise already very high, and as there is so much snow, you get really blinded by the light. So the weather is still cold, but there is this kind of feeling in the air which is already like spring because of all of this sunlight. And also generally the weather is a little bit warmer, so you don't get such cold nights as minus 30 to 35. However, minus 20, 25 centigrade is still quite more normal at night, but because there is so much sun already, usually it's warmer during the day, so around 10 degrees centigrade plus or minus. And this image was taken in Ylläs last February. I think it was about 17th February that I took this image, and you can see like it's a winter paradise, guys. I was amazed during this day, and I hiked around in this area with my forest skis, this large forest skis, took millions of pictures and totally adored it. So also relatively less expensive season than December, and you just have much more options, especially in Ylläs. You have so many options to stay to hotels, cottages, so very nice. And this picture you can see here, it's taken at the amethyst mine in Luosto, and Luosto and Pyhä are also beautiful fells or little mountains in central Lapland. And this place, the amethyst mine, is where you can go and dig your amethyst stones even in wintertime. And it's natural stone. They don't, throw it out for tourists. You just dig in with a simple pick, and it's a beautiful tour. So check this place, amethystmine.fi. I think it's the place. And the reason I love this season, spring winter, it's because this is when the Northern Lights activities is at its best in snow time. So starting from about end February going into early April, you have the biggest Northern Lights of the winter season. And I'm going to tell you probably another podcast why we have bigger Northern Lights during this time. However, suffice it to say that if you want to experience snow and activities and Northern Lights, then choose this season, spring winter. So from mid-February until end March, or if you go up north to Ylläs, Levi and Saariselkä regions, you can also go as late as 1st and 2nd week of April, and you will still enjoy it. So the bonuses are lots of sunlight, you feel really energized, lots of snow, everywhere you can go snow. You can go everywhere on skis, snowmobiles, snowshoes, you will drown in snow, but you won't drown in anything else. For example, like there is so much ice on the water, you cannot drown in there. And at night you can see these beautiful Northern Lights. So skiing, especially ski resorts, are at its best during this time. And this is why Finnish people, they are clever. They have their skiing vacation, which is about this time. So late February, early March, and also Easter is a very popular season, especially for Finns, to go to ski resorts in Lapland and enjoy their piece of winter. So warmly recommend this season if you have visited different season before, like Christmas season and December season, on summer, come at this season, you will totally adore it. Any place you go in Lapland, Kuusamo, Rovaniemi, Ruka, you will enjoy it. So, the next season which comes after that is called the Departure of Snow, and this is when things get a little bit ugly in terms of the image, because there is less snow. The exact time when the season shifts from spring winter to departure of snow depends on two things. First of all, we have different winters. Sometimes winter season can go late into April, even in Rovaniemi area, or sometimes winter can end a little earlier, especially in Rovaniemi, in end March or early April, and this is when it will start to melt. This current spring that we had in 2020 was very long, same as 2016. So we had snow until, very long. So, and the second thing on which it depends is how north you go in Lapland. So here in central Lapland, where I am in Rovaniemi, the snow departs a little earlier. I would say mid-April to mid-May. This is when the snow departs. However, if you go up north to Ylläs, or even more north to Muonio and Kilpisjärvi, the departure of snow will happen 2 or 3 or even 4 weeks later. So it's totally possible to go to Kilpisjärvi in end April or even early May and experience like almost full winter. I kid you not, there is so much snow there. So let's go into our next image, and this is the image of 2nd of May 2020 in Rovaniemi. It's a beautiful Ounesjoki River, still frozen on the 2nd of May, but already the sunset coming at 10 p.m. So this is a little bit surreal time for me, because you see lots of snow and then there's almost no night already. So it is a bit like, your mind goes crazy. How come there is so much light as in summer, but then there is still winter everywhere? So this is a bit curious season. But also, very quickly, spring goes on and the rivers get clear of ice, like in this aerial photo here of River Kemijoki, and there is a little of ice and snow left. So let's say that on the 2nd or the first week of May, we already don't have much snow anywhere in Rovaniemi, so a little bit more up north. And departure of snow, it's probably the one season that I do not recommend visit Lapland for several reasons. Well, first of all, without snow, there are no more snow activities. You cannot go skiing anymore. Well, technically you can go alpine skiing until early May in the ski resorts, but you cannot go snowmobiling anymore, at least not responsibly and not carefully enough. And you cannot go on husky sledding and reindeer sledding anymore and that sort of thing. And also, as the nights are getting shorter and shorter and shorter in April, until in early May there is no night, so you cannot see any northern lights anymore. So they end at about 20th of April. It's too bright already. So this is why I would not recommend going into this. Don't come in May, basically what I say. Come in any other month except May. And unless you have to, unless you have a business or like family thing, and you will still enjoy, of course. But if you're coming as a tourist, then just skip May and come in any other season. So now we're going back. We're looping into our 8th season, and this is the Midnight Sun, which is where we started. So we started over here. So starting from early May, there is already no night in Lapland, and there is daylight around the clock. And starting from about 20th of May, the latest, you have sunlight around the clock in northern Lapland, and by early June you also have sunlight around the clock in Rovaniemi. And this is the beautiful time to visit Lapland as well. I think that probably there is a very nice sweet spot to visit on the first, maybe second week of June, before the mosquitoes come, because later, after midsummer, when the mosquitoes come, it gets a little bit crazy for a while. For 2 or 3 weeks, you basically are eaten alive. But if you plan carefully, just as the snow departs and it gets a little drier, and we can have lots of melting of snow, we can have floods in the rivers, so it can get a little, tricky. But after the flood subsides, would it happen in end May or early June, and everything dries out, you have 2 weeks to go around Lapland without mosquitoes and enjoy this beautiful midnight sun all around. And of course, when when it gets warmer and warmer, the mosquitoes start hatching, and then it gets a little tricky. So if you don't like mosquitoes, probably do not come after Midsummer Day, after 15th or 20th of June. Skip that. However, the midsummer celebration is very beautiful and very nice here in Lapland. So I think it's the third Saturday of June when we have midsummer celebration. And the night before, on Friday at midnight, the bonfires are lit everywhere by the rivers, and people are just celebrating and having fun, enjoying this kind of this amazing light, especially after long and dark winter. This amount of light, it's totally amazing to experience, guys. So this is the midnight sun season, and this next photo, which I took, I think it was about 27th, 29th of May this year. You can have spectacular, beautiful nights when it rains and there are clouds, but there is this low passing sun, and it creates a totally, unbelievable images, unbelievable pictures. On this particular night, 27th of May, we had double rainbows, we had magnificent colors. If you would like to check, there is a live stream which I did. If you can scroll on our Facebook page down, you will find this live video from that. So that was really amazing. And Paul is saying, Alex, your photos are amazing. I'm wondering if you have taken classes in photography, or are you just naturally gifted? So beautiful. Well, I think we're all naturally gifted in terms that we have an understanding of beauty. So what we might lack is some technical knowledge in taking photos or capturing images. So the way I started, I just bought my first camera, which was Canon 5D Mark II, which I have now as a backup camera. And I just started taking lots of photos, and it took me a while to get better at it. Now I've been taking photos professionally for about 8 years, and with every season I get better and better, and that's how you progress, by taking lots of photos. And the good thing about today is that the mobile phone cameras are getting much, much better. So the best camera, as they say, is the one that you have with you, and you don't necessarily have to have this professional gear. You can just snap pictures and videos with your mobile phone. Just be, at the right place at the right time. That's the main thing about capturing this kind of light. So now we've been around all of our 8 seasons. And these are the midnight sun, the harvest season, which we will start now very soon in end July and in August, and we'll also welcome the first northern lights. We have Ruska season, or the autumn foliage season, which is whole September and maybe the first part of October, and massive northern lights. Of course, not every night, but usually when you have aurora storms, it's in September. We never had September in my memory without a proper aurora storm. When it happened, it might be early September, it might be end September, it might be both. It's a little bit exciting to live and see. And after that we have our first snow season, which is this one, starting from mid-October until end November, something like that. So the snow comes, usually very cloudy, so less chances for northern lights. However, it's still nice, very quiet in Lapland, not many people still, so it's kind of nice and peaceful season to explore on your own. And then we have our Christmas season and our winter darkness season, the most popular season by far. Understandably, there is snow, there is activities, and there is Christmas spirit everywhere. So totally a good season, but with a little bit higher prices, unfortunately. Maybe not this year. Maybe this year will be this kind of good old Christmas season with reasonable prices after all of this what happened this year. So maybe this Christmas season will be different, and this will be the Christmas season for everybody to travel and to remember. But after that, we have a season that you can definitely count on. It's the snowy winter season, starting from the second week of January, going into mid-February with lots of snow, very cold weather, but very nice views, lots of snow everywhere, looks like fairy tale, and beautiful light. Going into our spring winter from end February to end March, early April, with beautiful northern lights, lots of snow everywhere and lots of light, and this kind of special uplifting feeling everywhere. And going into our departure of snow, which is starting from end April until end May, probably the season I would skip after all of these. So this is in a nutshell the travel season to Lapland. And if you have any more questions regarding these seasons, we still have a couple of more minutes that I can answer questions. And especially if you have some ideas or questions regarding our next podcasts, please comment me, and I will take it on my working list. And if you like to see our streams live, for those of you who are now listening to this podcast in audio, you can go to our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/allaboutLapland, or find us on any kind of social media that you use. We're called All About Lapland everywhere, and enjoy our images and videos. And if you like to subscribe to our podcast, you can do that on iTunes, Spotify, and all of the other podcast sites. One cool thing to add, if you like to help us doing our shows, and you would like to have something special from Lapland, you can go to our design shop, aurorashop.fi, and order something for yourself or for your loved ones. We have all of the best locally produced design items, such as this Kuksa cup, traditional cup, which I also have. It's a great item to go hiking. You only need one cup basically, and this is made of special part of wood gnarl, which is very tough. So this is the regular model that we have, and we also have those with the reindeer horn. Speaking of reindeer, we have many reindeers visiting our house here these days, and the cool thing about reindeer that they drop their horns once per year, so you can collect this reindeer horn part here, so you don't have to kill or damage the reindeer. You can just pick up the horn, and then local artisans make all kinds of cool souvenirs from these, like this small knife is made by Irene Kangasniemi, which we love a lot, local design artist. So you can find her and other souvenirs at our shop, aurorashop.fi, and we offer 15% discount with our code thank you, and we ship worldwide. Let me have a little water here. We also have postcards and wooden prints that are made with my pictures. For example, this is a picture I took in Ullas Resort a couple of winters ago, and it's a small postcard. Smells beautifully. I love this wooden postcards of this baby reindeer. So go there to aurorashop.fi and order something for your friends and family. So let's see some comments. Kim is saying, thanks for all this. It's very informative and helpful. Well, this is our mission and our job, Kim, to help you guys out and share our knowledge of Lapland. And Isabel is saying, very beautiful. Thank you so much. Pleasure to help. Pleasure to help. So, I think that it has been a very good podcast. We'll be back with some more podcasts. And thanks a lot for watching the podcast. And as always, stay cool.